So I'm scrolling through Instagram and
getting in them DMs.
Please.
They can't see it.
Come on.
Please approve please buy our shirts.
Go to Josh McCouga's Instagram because this is what he's doing now. He's it's a good thing it wasn't like a picture in his underwear. You know how when you're scrolling through Instagram, you see all those underwear models?
Yeah,
those
like a Calvin
influencers?
Klein. Yeah.
Yeah, I like those. I'm just glad it's not McCouga.
I agree. Is Kristian Harloff an influencer? 100%.
Yes.
100%.
Yes, easily.
I mean, look, Josh McCouga hasn't been on the show for a while. He's been a little stressed. Did the Penguins even win the Stanley Cup? I have no idea. Okay.
Yeah,
well, congratulations.
They were up against the Predators, the Nashville Predators. They were playing when we went down there to go see Balance.
Oh, yeah,
and,
that's right.
I think that they fell. They fell from their high tower.
Yeah, R.I.P. Nashville Predators, because everybody knows that when you lose a Stanley Cup in hockey that you have to forfeit your team, that it no longer exists. I don't know. It's just a thing.
Why are we talking about hockey?
I don't know.
This is After Schmoe.
Real quick, my beverage of choice is a carbonated drink, and one thing I hate about drinking carbonated drinks on podcasts, you get that burp thing where you're like trying to hide the burp. You're like,
I got lemon water.
Yeah.
Because health. Last time I had that giant iced coffee, and I've had so much trouble with iced coffee recently trying to figure out the perfect concoction that I didn't want to have a bad concoction and be making faces throughout we're on video now.
We are on video.
For those of you might be listening to this as a podcast, but we're also on video. There's a camera watching everything that we do. I didn't want to have to I didn't want to get bloated from the coffee. I didn't want to get crampy depending on how much cream they put in. It's a lot to worry about. I just figured I'd stick with the lemon water. Plus, it's good for my throat.
Been having a lot of problems with coffee lately. Both of us have. In Starbucks, it's an issue. You can find that information on Sight and Sound.
Coffee's intimidating. It's a lot to work. There's a lot to work with. Anyway.
It is. I have a theory real quick. I'm sure we'll get into it, but last week you guys crushed it on After Schmoe. I mean, the response was great. We love doing the video stuff. We hope to do as much as we can. I noticed, I don't know if you picked up on anything that you do on an hour-long video, but I touch my microphone a lot and I fiddle with my mic a lot, but I can do that because I don't have a power switch on my microphone. I think Kristian was inspired by me fiddling with my microphone.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I like what Jay does with his mic. I'm going to try that this week."
Because what do you do with your hands under that desk?
I feel like something came up, and I didn't put it in my notes. I feel like something came up last night that felt like it was directly influenced by us.
Oh, and yeah? Are we the influencers now?
I can't think of what it was, and I shouldn't have even brought it up, but I swear to God something happened, and I thought, wait a minute, I think they got that from After Schmoe.
You don't know what it is?
I have no idea.
Okay. Should we go ahead and read the thing that Kristian wants us to read? About talking about SK Plus shows?
It wasn't... I don't know. Anyway, so one of the factors, I think, Jay, to After Schmoe's success last week. Yes, we had a great video. It was a great show. We had Kristian coming back. That certainly helped. But,
I guess so, yeah.
But the other great shows on the SK Plus YouTube channel, the other great shows that are on the Schmoes Know podcast feed, some of them took the week off.
They really did. I think they got a little bit intimidated by the video.
No, that's not what I think it is. I think
wingers, how can we live up to this?
I think they just were insanely busy. I mean, I'll go with that. If you want to go with that, we can take all of the credit.
At some point, Beardo's going to run out of people.
That's true.
Does he just double up? Does he double down?
Someone on Pre-Schmoe asked me when I was going to be on Beardo's podcast. And
that's like our number one question we get asked. If you could go on any other podcast, which would you go on? Well, obviously it would be the live show, but
yeah.
Number two is Beardo.
I thought Pre-Schmoe was awful last night. And that's on me. I apologize. I went solo. I'm not good at doing solo things, but I was getting very distracted by the stream, the chat stream that was going on, and I don't know.
Practice.
And part of me didn't feel like I was setting anybody up for actual discussion. I mean, I went rambling on about Colin Trevorrow and how he disappointed me with Jurassic World, and that wasn't even the place. And now I feel bad for doing that.
It takes practice, and look, we're gonna get you on some solo stuff. Hopefully, I'm gonna support you. But look, I appreciate you covering for me. I decided the reason I took off was because, look, we like the fact that the show has changed times because it's allowed Kristian to come back. We don't have to go to bed as late. But what it has done for pre-Schmoe is it's like right in the middle of my schedule of me getting off of work and my girlfriend getting off work to spend time with her and getting things done. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I figured you try your hand at it. You went vertical. We should do that.
I had to.
We should do
my phone can't flip and record Facebook Live. So anyway, in addition to pre-Schmoe, there's a lot of stuff going on with the Schmoes Know podcast feed and the SK Plus YouTube channel. Subscribe to both.
Absolutely.
To support all of us. And you never know. You might be in the car and you might think, hey, I want to listen to Outlaw Nation, and you have the podcast feed right there. Or you might be at home and you might be cleaning your room and you can beam via the YouTube channel one of those podcasts to your TV. So you just never know.
Yeah, you got Wenger's show. No one knows what that show's about. They talk about Nintendo 64 and candy sometimes. You got Outlaw Nation, like you said. The Rundown, Schmoedown Rundown. Get down, as Kristian says in his t-shirt ad. Yeah, to go on there. There's some stuff over there.
Okay, well,
Sight and Sound.
Well, here's the theme.
do 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 do.
You want to do? Let's do it.
All right, ready? A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Get off your phone.
Yeah, welcome to the After Schmoe. My name is Ryan Snelling.
Do you think that goes for
You're
us
Jaye
too?
Williams.
Yeah, I'm Jaye Williams. Yeah, I'm just a thing. Do you think that goes for us too? Like Kristian established his managerial status. He said, "Get off the phones." Does that go for us too?
No.
That's right.
He can't touch me because I called him out last week because he was messaging me about the Mummy during movie talk.
Do we want to talk about? Did you get thrown under the bus? There was some throwing under the bus this week.
I'll be honest
about it.
I'll be honest. I'm a little peeved.
I didn't know if you wanted to get into it.
I can. I'm peeved. It's sort of a. It's not with anyone in particular. It's just an overall.
I may be responsible for this, but go ahead.
Overall, a little kind of peeved at the situation. One thing I don't always like, it's not always a problem, but sometimes I get in these moods where it just bothers me that I'm so distant with people over there when I need them.
Emotionally or physically? Or spiritually?
Physically. Like, if I need Copster, sometimes I can't always get them, and if I need Kristian, I can't always get them with a concern, and so I just get peeved sometimes.
They do work for us.
I feel like they do, and it's a symbiotic relationship. I think,
like the Venom suit.
I mean, he might argue that it's a siphoning relationship or a leeching relationship. That might be the case, but yeah, I just get peeved sometimes. I feel like me and you are in our own little corner and we operate away from everyone else, and in a way that's freeing in the fact that we get to kind of do whatever show we want to do, but at the same time
that apparently no one but Kristian watches.
That's another
later.
another thing. That's another thing.
More on that
Kristian
much
and
later.
Mama Sheridan.
So, okay, here's what we're sort of talking about. Something happened on pre-Schmoe, right? Something happened on pre-Schmoe.
A couple of things have happened. Like, okay, the first thing that happened.
Did Kristian get mad at you on pre-Schmoe last night?
I will get there.
Okay.
Here's what I think. The first
That's
thing
my fault.
The first thing that happened, it's your fault.
Yes, because we tried to do this thing on pre-Schmoe.
Well, hold on, we'll get there last.
Okay.
The first thing that I was peeved at was in the comment section last week, RB3 corrected us and said that Copster had his own episode of Beardo. And I said, nah. And so a full week later, Beardo comes in and says, oh, I love his confidence, even though he's totally wrong. And I was just kind of like...
Was he talking about you or
Yeah, he
RB3?
was talking about me. And I'm like... I was like, dude, I'm just joking.
Man, you don't even watch our show. Get out of here, Beardo.
Like, I don't know. That
what
just
do you
annoyed
know?
me. It just kind of annoyed me. I was taking it light.
You schmo?
I've done a couple of things on the show where I purposefully make myself look a certain way, like with Ellis and the calling him on the phone and freaking out over the thing falling off the desk. That was supposed to make me
shtick. It's a shtick.
that was supposed to sort of exaggerate the moment. It was supposed to make me look ridiculous, make me look like I'm making something out of nothing. And I clearly was wrong when I said no, when RB3 corrected me. I just thought it was weird that a full week later, Beardo felt like he had to do that.
Well,
so,
we know what it was.
I'm not even peeved at him, really. I just think it's one of those things where, like, I wish we knew each other better. That way he would know that I was joking. You know what I mean? I think that was what I was annoyed
I don't know hardly any of them. I don't really communicate with most of them.
Exactly.
But
we're on our own little
We
corner.
all know that Beardo, the only reason he was even hanging out over at After Schmoe was to check our stats to see if any of if our show had dominated his show, which of course it has. And I think he holds the record. It's got like 11,000 plays on his Harloff, not his Harloff podcast, but his Harloff interview.
Episode.
R.I.P. Harloff podcast.
I've been known to be paranoid. Kristian has commented on it before, but I think that there might have been some banter in the office like, oh, did you see where Snelling commented? That's why it happened like a week later. Like, why else? Because he doesn't listen to our show. Anyway.
I barely remember my name.
I was a little peeved at that, and then I was a little peeved that I messaged Copster a week ago about an issue, and I don't even know if he's read it. And it was like a behind the scenes type issue. I just needed some help, and I don't know. Well, just a little peeved. But then we got to the last night at the pre-schmo where Kristian came in and joined in on the fun. Did you want to set this up?
Well, I was just going to say that we did this thing, and I firmly believe in it, and I want to state it here. That I think we as a community, if you are watching this and paying attention to the SK Plus content, you are the group of people who go that extra mile, and that's fantastic, and we thank you for it. But there are a ton of other Schmovillians out there. There are over 14,000 people that are members of the Schmoville Facebook group. There are, I don't even know how many people are on SK Plus. Then
29,000.
All of the way more people who follow the Schmoes Know Show on YouTube. I sort of want to set this thing where we are educating other Schmovillians. It might not. There's a lot of people that don't know about this stuff, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think as a community, we sort of need to educate people. So last night I did this thing. Well, we agreed to do this thing to where we were trying to get people to invite friends to come and watch pre-schmo, and I did it as well, and I invited Kristian Harloff to watch the show. So that might be why he came.
I had no idea.
I know
that you did that.
I know. Yeah.
Well, that's not even the problem though. The problem was that some guy, I can't remember his name. I apologize.
I probably invited him too.
You know, he came in and I'd never recognized him, but he was actually getting very involved with pre-schmo, so I thought that was great. So I happened to throw out there.
That.
I happened to throw out there, thanks for coming in. I don't know if we've talked before or whatever. And when Kristian joins in, that guy makes a joke. Oh, but Snelling, you were just talking shit about Kristian.
Right.
And then right after that, Kristian said, and I'm out. I'm like, great, that's the last thing I need, too. And then the other problem, and I texted you about it, is I couldn't get the damn thing. I couldn't get the damn video to upload.
Right.
It took forever to upload because I chose the HD option. And I was really worried that if it didn't upload, that meant that I had a reason to not save the video, and I didn't want anyone to think that I took it down to like keep Kristian from knowing that I talked shit about him. But
I think this is all playing into your
paranoia.
Yeah, your paranoia thing. Look,
I have plenty of witnesses. Kristen Smith can verify that I wasn't talking shit, but that was the last thing that we needed after our little kerfluffle a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and look, pre-schmo is a weird thing. That is a thing that we just kind of came up with the idea with it. And some crazy stuff can go down. Your dogs can ruin the fun. You can accidentally do a pre-schmo to your entire personal Facebook friends.
Laggy internet.
All this stuff. Look, it just happened. It's a thing. My favorite thing about that whole interaction, I like to think that in the middle of Cobster's little pre-show meeting they do, Kristian was on his phone watching pre-schmo.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That would be fantastic. I thought for sure he would comment about the fact that you threw him under the bus talking about being on his phone during movie talk.
He knows what he did. He knows what he did.
Okay.
He doesn't have anything to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, let's get into the show here.
We're taking too long. Okay, well, let's get into the live show here. I'm just gonna be honest, and I don't have a reason for this. I got caught up, and I didn't take a whole lot of notes, but I feel okay because I didn't take a lot of notes last week, and I thought last week was one of our best shows.
It was. Well, I also didn't take that many notes, and I think what I'm learning is the notes to show quality correlation, the algorithm, doesn't necessarily mean anything. Sometimes you just watch the show and there's not a lot for us to like dive really deep on, but it's still entertaining as
This
shit.
wasn't a deep dive show?
I mean, sort of. There are chunks of things that I think we could go really deep on, but it wasn't filled with those moments like some weeks are, which is fine. That's not a commentary on the quality.
I was
going to
be okay if you said that it wasn't a deep dive show, because I don't know that it was a deep dive show either.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see where the show goes. Is it time for the notes?
Yeah, that was my next thing. Is that you better be taking notes, because if
we have a whole segment.
If you don't, then that's one less segment, and we don't have a history lesson today.
We don't, because look, I feel fine about it. Ken didn't even write the news this week on this week's show, but yeah.
Well, the history lesson could have been the first appearance of Santino, but they did that. Not only did they do that a couple weeks ago, but they did it again today.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
they doubled up on it?
They did it not too long ago.
Interesting.
On the live show.
I want to talk a little bit about Santino a little bit later on, but you ready?
Yeah, let's do Jaye Williams' stream of consciousness notes during the live show.
These are your Jaye Williams stream of consciousness notes, brought to you by SightSoundPod.com. Kristian looks stoned. Oh my God, Brett's mom is fire. Sorry, the font is very small.
No,
I'm just saying. I'm like having to
start over. Kristian looks stoned.
Kristian looks stoned. Oh my God, Brett's mom is fire. Clear the lines for Snelling. He's probably not even watching live. Brett's mom knows music. Holy shit. Should get her on Sight and Sound Music. Podcast tip number 1. Don't get a mic with a power switch. SM48 or bust. Hashtag Rusty Harloff. Oh no, mommy and daddy are fighting. They are throwing some vicious jabs. People being thrown under the bus constantly, left and right. It's hilarious. I wish you guys knew how true some of that was. Mark's Brody Stevens story made me laugh so hard. I've actually seen Brody Stevens live, and it was one of the best stand-up shows I've ever seen. And that's the end of Jaye Williams' Stream of Consciousness Notes, brought to you by SightSoundPod.com. Jesus. Did Kristian look stoned at the start of the show?
I didn't pick up on that at all.
He's a little glassy-eyed.
I just let you say
it. You never know
it.
that guy.
You texted me that before, and I just kind of let you say it. I didn't.
His
I didn't
eyes
really
just
agree.
looked a little glassy. I'm not saying anything specifically. That was just my take.
You want to know what this show was, Jaye Williams?
What's that?
This episode of the show, the word for it is dynamic.
Okay.
Kristian Harloff, we talked about it last week. He kind of interjects. He gives it more of this radio type of attitude than how the show performed without him. So immediately, right away, we got that vibe.
Right.
And then we can go all the way to the next segment where it's all of them busting each other's balls and being the most like broed out friends group type of vibe. And then you cut to an intimate interview with a movie director, and then right off after that you have a full out conversation with a comedian about stand-up comedy, and it was just kind of, well, dynamic. Going back to the word I used originally, dynamic is the word that I like for this, and I thought it was very very interesting.
I think that's a good point, something that I didn't really pick up on. The show is in a strange place right now, I think, for us covering it, because the entire time that we've been doing After Schmoe, it has been in this one sort of form. I think we've gotten used to and comfortable sort of covering it in the state that it was in, but it sort of changed, obviously, since last week, since Kristian came on the show. Like, for instance, the whole segment taking the phone calls towards the end of the first segment before the break is interesting. It's different. It's a different dynamic. And just in general, the energy because I think you throw another host in there. Now the hosting duties is split in half. I just think it's a different dynamic. And I think even we're still trying to get used to like what to pay attention to. Do you get that? Like when we were doing the show before since we started, I sort of knew the exact moments when to sort of have my ears perked up a little bit more than normal.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're...
Well, for instance, at the beginning of every show is sort of that moment that you were talking about, the sort of back and forth between everybody, introducing everybody, getting this sort of wild card moment. With, I think now that's sort of stretched out even longer.
I think it just kind of breaks open immediately.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And Mark is so good at keeping things on track and tight. And Kristian, I think, encourages moments of throwing things off the rails.
It was almost a fault of the show because you limited Brett and Mama Sheridan's Brett to the Future down to 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
How do you feel about that?
I think they could have just waited and let them do that after the break. I mean, I know that they have... Okay. The biggest stretch of the show was Santino, right?
Yeah, there were that whole second half of the show, the Santino and the Colin Trevorrow interview,
like tomorrow,
took up a large. I mean, it took up half the show, both of which is fine. That's totally cool.
The Colin Trevorrow, I think we're kind of going all over the place. This is fine.
Where did Reilly go?
I think he left. I think during the break, I think Kristian said you can just leave. Like not in an angry way.
Okay.
I think Kristian just
you
said,
can go.
You know what, we don't have anything for you. I think is probably what happened because
it was a crowded space. You had Brett's mom there, obviously. You know.
Anyway, I get why the Colin Trevorrow thing was inserted there. For one, he made the trip out. Two, he's the headlining name. I mean, he's got the biggest name of anyone that's going to be in that episode. So totally makes sense. But I think the longest stretch was the Santino thing, and I think you could have cut Santino down 5 minutes to give Brett and Mama Sheridan, who came onto the show, a proper Brett to the Future.
So can I give since we're talking about it, I do want to go back to the beginning of the show, but since we're talking about Trevorrow, my honest take on it, I thought it was a great interview. I thought it was a really, really good interview. For me personally, this is just my take, raw take. Watching this in the middle of the show, I would have totally seeked this out. I would have totally watched this if it was separate. And I don't want to hear anybody commenting. I don't want to hear Kristian getting butthurt about it. I get why it was on the show. Obviously, it would have been great if he could have been there live with everybody else.
Yeah.
But where you were talking about that dynamic, where it did sort of break it up, I don't think I was ready for that one-on-one sort of intimate style interview in the show. It was great. It was really, really good. It was a little bit, the contrast between what we got at the beginning and that moment was just a little bit stark for me. And like I said, I probably would have seeked it out more if it was a separate video. Totally get why it was on there. Brings eyes, all of that stuff. It's an exclusive. He didn't have the time to be there live and all that stuff. But that was just my personal take on it.
I'm going to go the other way on this. I think
Absolutely.
that Ellis's interviewing skills, he's always great, but and this is another thing I want to make sure that I talk about too, because we talked about this off air, how if there's anyone that we glaringly talk about the least on After Schmoe, it's Ellis.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't think it's just an excuse, but we just talk about, I mean, Ellis is just consistent. I mean, we know exactly what he's doing. He is able to, and this is his own sort of analogy, but he's always about passing the ball. He wants us to pass the ball more, even though we don't do a good job.
He's great at it.
So he is very much the Jerry Seinfeld, who doesn't care about having the best jokes. He gives it to Kramer. He writes it for Elaine. That's what Ellis is doing. But not only did I think this was Ellis's time to shine, I thought he just gave a tremendous interview. And yes, it was dynamic, going back to that word, the contrast from the live show, especially when it's playing after all the ball busting that we got. Yeah. But we never I appreciate the interview because we never would have had that type of interview on the live show.
Absolutely.
I
agree.
It would have
100%.
been very different if he was there in studio. I don't think we would have gotten as much out of it. And I feel guilty because I spent all of pre-Schmoe kind of busting Trevorrow's balls because I said Jurassic World didn't deserve to be the number 3 box office winner of all time.
Yeah. I mean,
but I thought I liked the interview, and I am a fan of film. I am a fan of filmmakers.
It's a huge interview for them.
It was.
Come
for
on.
the second time.
Are you serious? Yeah. And again, just to restate it, before Kristian sends me a message like, "Are you crazy? Do you not understand?" Look,
he just texted me and said, "Okay, I'm out."
Out of what? What is he out of?
Pre-Schmoe callback.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Anyways, hashtag not loving it. Anyways. That's just my personal take. That was just my personal take. I get why it was. It was just in the moment. That's how I felt about it. So if you DM me and like I'm just gonna say I talked about it on the show.
We had Kristian, Ellis, and Grace and Ken at the main table.
Grace 2 weeks in a row.
That's right. I remember the thing. I remember what they talked about on the live show that was influenced by us. Kristian called out Ken not being there.
Oh yeah,
just not saying anything, and that came from us because
was it? Did it?
We talked about it last week. We talked about how Ken just sat there.
We did, but Kristian also called him out last week on the show.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and I kept.
Well, I'm going to.
It was kind of a shtick thing that we did last week where I kept wanting to talk about it. We just never really addressed it.
Is Ken okay?
I don't know.
Ken's words were, "You just have me on for the news, so I do the news, and then I'm done." So
yeah, we'll come back around. Let's stick to chronological order here.
That was at the beginning.
I know, absolutely. So we had this moment as well with Brett's mom being introduced on the show. Forgot that she was going to be on. When she was on, I remembered. Oh yeah, they talked about her going to be on the show. She is great. She is just so lovely. I'm not just saying that to brown nose. I've talked about it. I don't know if I've talked about it here or pre-Schmoe, but I love my mom. I love. We have a great relationship, and the fact that Brett and his mom have that relationship too. That's just why I don't know. It's just heartwarming. It feels good, and fuck anybody else that thinks any different.
What's happening to you over there?
I don't know. They also addressed his rant last week, and I didn't realize that there were a bunch of other shitty fans that were calling him hippie and snowflake. Did you catch all that stuff?
Well, I think that stems from an interaction that Ellis had on Twitter as well. So I think they probably had that discussion off air. Someone got mad at Ellis, and but anyway.
Well, I mean, they talked about it on the live show last night.
Oh, I know, but there was more backstory to it. I saw some interactions go down on Twitter. But
what did you think about them breaking that video out and putting it out there for a standalone moment? I mean, I think it's a good message to sort of get across to people.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's just, look, we're not gonna stand for that shit.
No, I agree. I thought it was great. I'm really happy that they put it out. I'm glad that they sort of were cautious, or at least they acted like they were cautious of the fact that Brett said the C word.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they didn't do anything about that.
Absolutely.
Because he was quoting someone. But anyway, I thought that they were going to make it a thing on the show, and I'm glad that they didn't.
Right.
If there was a flaw with last night's show, it's that they blew it not putting Mama Sheridan on the main table.
You're right.
Like, think about it. If Ken is already counting himself out, he wasn't there to do the news. We forgot that he was there after the opening of the show. I mean, if he is going to do that,
Reilly as well.
Put Mama. I mean, think about it. Just like, I mean, maybe it's one of those a hindsight is 20/20 things, but if that's the attitude, Mama Sheridan is your girl. She's your lady. She's your woman, and she should have been on the main table. We should have had a lot more of her.
We talk about it maybe not week after week. We talk about it a lot that it's a crowded space. It's a crowded room. It makes for some great moments, but from time to time there are people that get, sort of iced out. And I think Grace, again, she's getting more comfortable for sure. I think she definitely was more comfortable this week than she was last week. Still kind of getting there.
I don't think she's getting her due.
But for anybody else to be sort of iced out by this thing, Ken of all people is surprising to me. I mean, it's a little bit surprising. I mean, you have these other personalities like Brett's mom, sort of, I mean, taking the forefront, and even Brett giving her moment to shine. I mean, she's a star. She's a star. Love her music knowledge. Love her enthusiasm. Love the Bob Marley shirt. I mean,
yeah,
she
that
was
was
fire.
funny.
Straight fire.
As soon as Brett mentioned that he had been called a hippie, I noticed that she had the Bob Marley shirt on. So I just kind of thought that was pretty fitting.
Kayla also is a big fan of Brett's mom as well.
I just want to say, I'm going to call it. Of course she is. I'm going to call it. No, I did call it. Their rating for Boyhood. I said that it would be, I think I said between the -60 and -50 range, and I think they gave it a -45, so I was like right there. And most of the people in pre-Schmoe thought that he was going to give it a higher rating. But since that movie is ultimately nothing.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't really have anything to say. All I can go by is from what you said of it, and now from what Mama Sheridan and Brett said. Also, I like this too. This is why I love. Kristian can be a little bit rambunctious. He likes to sort of
it's amazing.
Stir up some dirt, and questioned and put Mama Sheridan on the spot about our show. She does enjoy the show. Also, Brett has a very peculiar take on things, and Kristian called him out for it. When they listened to it in the car, they wanted I don't ever recall ever saying anything bad about Brett. Do you?
No.
I don't either, but he made the statement of wanting to get to us saying something nice about him because we weren't saying something nice about him. I wasn't clear.
No, I think he was just talking about the fact that we were saying everything else. We were talking about everything else that happened on the show. He just wanted to get to the goods.
Yeah.
Is all he was saying.
And look, man, like, I don't know, Kristian, show this clip to him, but you feel good about yourself, man. Like, it's not conceited to want to listen to things. I mean, sometimes we're critical of things. That's why we're on the show. We're on the show to cover things.
Yeah,
but also
I mean,
critical.
I wasn't that pleased with your John Carter review, but
yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's fine to listen to stuff. I re-listen to almost every single thing that I put out there, not from a conceited point of view, but to get better about stuff.
I mean, the only reason why I watched the live shows for that moment where they mentioned my name.
Absolutely. Yeah, they told Kristian told Cobster to open the phone lines for you. Do you regret not taking advantage of that moment?
No.
Tell him what you told me, because I asked you about it.
What am I, some charity case? I'm not gonna call in after Kristian makes that kind of.
You want authenticity.
And, I'll tell you what. I'm done with that. I'm not even gonna. I don't like that.
You're not gonna like pre. You're not. Well, one time you did tell them that you wanted to call in.
And that's another reason. I asked Cobster. I said, "Hey, I'd like to call in and do this." And Cobster said, "Oh, I'll see what I can do." Even though I was told directly by Kristian to let Cobster know that I'm calling in.
Right.
So I'm just done with it. If they don't want me to do it, then I'm not going to do it.
I'm through.
I thought it was funny.
Finished.
Like, I thought it was a funny shtick to just be like the guy begging. But I don't think it's funny anymore, and I'm not going to be that guy.
Right.
Especially when it's like, Kristian or Cobster, just fucking get Snelling on so he can quit whining. I'm done with that.
Speaking of call-ins.
They were better.
They were better, a lot better. Let me just get. I have to address something. Kristian hates TV. When he left the show, this was a thing. Okay, this was an actual thing. He left. He took some time off, and now he's trying to paint some picture like he's the next host of TV Talk. Like, I mean, like, where did this Bloodline season one conversation come from?
Hold on. Here's what we've run into. You and I, we want Kristian to get more involved in TV.
Absolutely.
I think that you have more of a problem with his actual opinion of Bloodline. Because I think
it all started with #not loving it.
About the leftovers?
About the leftovers. And then giving a rave review about it after. I'm just giving shit. No.
I think Kristian's stance on Bloodline is the perfect sort of example as that he doesn't watch enough TV.
Yeah. Well, look, here's my take on it. I sort of, to you, gave this shticky sort of take on it. I was like, he knows nothing about TV. No, look, if you, I don't, here's my opinion of Bloodline. I know we're not supposed to talk about this, but this was my reaction. I don't think that you should love Bloodline or hate Bloodline. I think that show is just vanilla. I think it is a really vanilla show with good acting. And the fact that he was like, it's one of the greatest shows in a long time. I was like, what? Where did that take come from? It's just because he's never talks about television.
There's a lot of shock value.
And I also love that nobody else really backed him up on it either. They were just like, yeah.
They're just like, I don't want any part of it.
I know. Even Ellis was like, yeah, it's okay. Moving on.
I would have loved for McCougan to have been there.
Oh, I would have.
And
too.
I can't believe I
don't even know what. I
can't believe I'm saying.
I don't even know what his take on Bloodline is. But just because we're on the Christian loving TV topic, him just being this super expert on this Showtime show, I'm Dying Up Here, was also hilarious. I get it. He comes from the comedy sort of days. I actually really appreciated his take on that. I'm sure we'll talk about it when we talk about Santino later.
Yeah. I feel like we're kind of already ready to talk about Santino because we've been bouncing all around.
That's true.
I mean, what do we got? I mean, the fact that we didn't really talk about or get into how much they were busting each other's balls, which was great.
Oh
to
yeah,
hear.
let's talk about that. The
Great to hear.
5-minute throwing under the bus thing. So
Amazing.
There's always this level, right? There's always this level where you're going back and forth and it's fun and all that stuff. But then there's another level where people start digging through the closet.
Yes.
At things. And okay, I'm going to ask you because I don't know how much I should get into it. What was your favorite moment of that whole thing? Was it Kody going nuts? Was it the Beardo Ken Knapsack feud? Has Beardo changed?
Beardo's getting a little cocky. He's getting a little cocky.
Does he have the right to be? Does he have Kanye West vibes?
He has a right to say that he's got a great show, and he's
Absolutely.
got a right to talk about the show's numbers.
Shows like that are difficult to do.
But he doesn't. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it at all. I mean, listen to my interviews of Ellis and Kristian on the Schmoeville podcast. I mean, I couldn't do it, but, they have a point that all he did was just take Ken's show. I mean, it's a good point. All he did was take
Kristian's
show. I mean, it's all we're saying.
But he took it and he ran with it, right? I mean, he took it and he ran with it.
I think what I found most interesting is something that I talked about last week when I kind of picked on the fact that Ellis has some negative emotions built up from the hiatus that Kristian took.
Yeah.
Because Ellis brought it up yet again. Like, we were doing the show. He said some kind of variant of that again last night. So that was the one that I find most interesting. That I think that Ellis is going to hold that over Kristian's head for a while.
I thought it was funny that they sort of had this back and forth where I guess it started with Ken. They started talking about how, Ken, why don't you ever tweet anything Schmoes Know related?
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. I thought it was kind of funny, but Kristian was the one that had the famous rant that said, "It's my fucking Twitter. I'll talk about whatever I want." Remember that?
Yeah, when people were getting pissed that he was talking about. Yeah, I do remember that.
And so there's that.
I don't have a problem with what Ken said at all, actually. In fact, I'm just curious how many Twitter followers he has, because I don't know. Most people might. I'm trying to think if most people that follow him already know about it, and I think is that part of it? Like, do you think that?
I think so. Well, it's interesting.
If people were following Ken primarily from Screen Junkies, then I would think all the more reason for him to tweet that out. But if they're just the same people and Schmoes Know, and there's probably no way to gauge this, where his fan base comes from. If he's just tweeting the same thing that everyone else at Schmoes Know.
So we haven't been doing the show or Sight and Sound for 5 years, but just from my own experience in the 7 months that Sight and Sound has even existed, you do get kind of comfortable just doing the content, and you completely forget to promote and do things like that. And I get it 100%. Maybe it takes having this thing on air for that to happen, or maybe it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. Who cares? But the funny thing between Mark and Kristian was Kristian throwing Mark throwing Kristian under the bus, but like, oh, you left and didn't say a word about this show, da 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 da, and then Kristian firing back and said, I was the only one giving After Schmoe notes, which is true. But whatever. It's just a thing. Don't fight, guys. Don't fight. It's fine.
I got something.
Then the Wangers got into it. You had Cobster being like, I'm your boss, Beardo.
I got you the job, Beardo.
Yeah. Then them throwing Kody on the bus. Kody had to get on the microphone.
Shut up, Kody. That was a great moment. I liked it.
I did too. I thought it was hilarious.
Still nothing for Sight and Sound.
Yeah. It's fine.
No.
It's fine. Is it?
No.
We get played during the breaks. I don't know. It's whatever. It's whatever. Sightsoundpod.com. Please buy our shirts. Anyways, let's talk about Andrew Santino. I want to say one thing real quick about him. Andrew Santino,
good-looking guy,
followed up being on Joe Rogan's podcast. He was on Joe Rogan Experience.
When?
Last week.
Oh, it just happened?
Just happened.
Oh, great.
Yeah, just
I want to go check that out.
And now he's on Schmoes Know. What's funny, here's the funny thing about Santino. I saw his name come up, and like it, you know how you hear a name and it just you don't know who it is, but it's like alarms are going off in your head.
Yeah.
Like, how do I know this guy?
Yeah.
I haven't listened to his Rogan episode yet, but saw that he was on. They just talked about him on Fighter and the Kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and being on the show, being on I'm Dying Up Here. And then, boom, here he is in our space, in our world. Exciting.
That's interesting because I kind of feel like that show is getting no press at all. Like, I'm not reading anything. Like, when Kristian talked about the critics not being too nice, I didn't even know what he was talking about. And that's one thing that Kristian can say is
I'm
that
glad you brought this up.
He knew more about this show than I did because I haven't read about it anywhere. I knew that Eric Griffin, who was on a couple weeks ago, was on the show. I forgot that Jim Carrey was producing it. I forgot that it even aired. So it was totally under the radar. So I'm kind of surprised to hear that he's been making the rounds on Fighter and the Kid and Rogan and all that. For me,
well, he's also a Comedy Store regular.
Yeah.
Rogan is also Comedy Store regular. Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub, a Fighter in the Kid, also Comedy Store regular. So I think it just kind of makes sense in those realms.
For me, it wasn't the name; it was the face. When I saw his face in the thumbnail, I couldn't pinpoint, and I didn't recognize him right away from him being on the show previously because that angle was like directly to the side, and it looked like he had. I couldn't tell that he had red hair in that camera, so I didn't really pick up on the fact that he had already been on the show until we were already watching it, and until people were talking about it on pre-Schmoe or whatever. So
I want your opinion on something. I don't want to talk about the show. Neither of us have seen the show. I don't want to go into anything like that. But his whole take on critics' opinion of the show being a stand-up comedy show. Be honest with me. I want 100% honesty. Do you think you would have had a similar take? Because we have talked about some stand-up comedy shows recently being not our favorite thing because they are too inside baseball. If we would have watched the show, if we would have had that same take, do you think you would have been...
Well, for one, we haven't agreed that that's the case. I am fascinated by that kind of stuff. So I don't have a problem with it being inside baseball.
Okay, maybe I'm forgetting how we felt about
that
other show on HBO. I don't even remember.
I just thought Crashing. I'd seen it before.
Well, see, that's his take. That's his opinion.
Here's what I'll say. I think that you can say I've seen this before in general, and that's gonna make someone. You can separate it though. Just because you've seen something before, that might mean okay, you're not giving it an A+ because it's not as original, but you can still say that it's a good show and give it an A or a B+ or whatever. So I'm not saying that a show is trash because I've seen it before. I might lose interest in it.
Yeah.
But I think what he was saying is that he knows they haven't seen it before. And when he's describing the type of show that it is, I can't say that I've seen it before. I love stuff involving stand-up comedy. I'm fascinated by stand-up comedy. Yeah, I'm fascinated.
Okay, two things real quick. One, I agree with you. I think his commentary wasn't necessarily, I've seen this before, but if that's your only basis on not liking it, like throw me some technical aspects your way. I agree with that 100%, and I get that. I was laughing just now the entire time you were talking about it because I thought to myself, oh no, why are we talking about this? This sounds like a Sight and Sound discussion. And then I thought to myself, well, fuck, nobody else is talking about Sight and Sound. We might as well give them a preview on After Schmoe.
No, I mean,
I'm just joking.
I actually loved to hear his commentary.
I did too.
On being criticized. I thought it was interesting. I think he was mainly speaking to the fact that he knows what the show is and that there isn't anything like it. So, especially when he talks about the fact that some of these critics are our age and we haven't seen something like this. So, I think that's why he was frustrated and I was fascinated by it. But I don't think you can totally rule out the I've seen it before criticism, especially if you pair it with some other things. So, it just depends. It's just one of those things.
I thought this discussion was actually fantastic. I thought it was great. Not because it was like funny, and I mean it was funny, but not because of anything like that. I thought the discussion in general was fantastic. It felt like the only three people in that room were Santino, Harloff, and Ellis. Yeah. Because all three of them
and Mama Sheridan
have her too. All three of these people have this Comedy Store connection, the stand-up comedy connection. And I mean Ellis bleeds and oozes passion for stand-up comedy. Regardless of anything else that you think of Ellis, he is super passionate about that. When we met him, when I met him for the first time, your second time, we sat down and talked about it with him. One of the questions I asked him was balancing, the Collider and Schmoes life and the stand-up comedy life. And I mean, his eyes were just locked on stand-up comedy because that's his passion. I mean, that's his art form. I mean, obviously he has passion for this other stuff too, obviously, but he loves stand-up comedy. The stuff, Kristian, when he talks about his Comedy Store days, I mean,
he sounds like an old man.
I love listening to him talk about that stuff. I mean,
he sounds like an old guy.
It's great. And I mean, and I've talked about it before too, just how I like hearing those stories because I am a big fan of other podcasts that talk about all that. I just think it's fascinating. This show is specifically, I think, for them. Maybe it's not for everybody because it is so much inside baseball, but I thought the interview was great. Yeah.
I did too. I thought he was very enjoyable. I thought he was going to be more of a loose cannon. He has the name The Hurricane, but maybe it was just because he was there to plug the show and talking about all this stuff that he wasn't as loosey-goosey as I imagined. He did have his moment with Mama Sheridan. I thought that was pretty funny. But
that was funny.
He was a great guest. He was a great guest, and I would like to see him again very soon.
Can I bring something up? Look, I'm gonna rub something in Kristian's face. You watching, Kristian?
No.
He's not watching, but I just want to hold my microphone for this. Take this little clip off here.
They talked about getting new mics.
I know.
They've been discussing it.
I want to talk about something for a second. How did you catch anything funny about Santino hitting on Grace?
That they look exactly like each other?
They have a connection, obviously, with the red hair.
You see the picture Grace posted?
I did see it. There was one point, and this is just funny. This is something I noticed. I could be completely wrong. I don't have red hair. I don't have friends with red hair. No, that's not true. We have a few friends. Kody Redhacker. Does he have red hair?
It's a strawberry blonde.
Whatever. Anyways, your microphone looks like Andrew Santino's hair. There was one moment where they were all talking and something, and he sort of threw out like a little, like not, I don't know, just like a comment, like a nice thing, oh, you're an attractive lady, and got nothing back from her, and he turned so red about it. It was strange. I noticed it. I just didn't know if you picked up on it. That's weird because he's a married
man.
No, I don't think it. No. That's not. Please, that's not where I was going at all. I think he was just trying to be funny about it and just be like, "Oh, well, you're a pretty lady," and she was like, "Oh, okay."
How was it? What are you rubbing in Kristian's face? Oh, the microphone
Holding
thing?
The microphone.
Oh, I thought you had some hot take or something.
No, not at all. How do you feel about him? Why was he trying to hold that microphone?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Do you think he was trying to channel his inner stand-up days?
What do I care?
I don't know. What's wrong with you and Christian? Do you have a falling out?
No, I'm not. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying it.
This is how it feels to listen to this show, like us instigating feuds. What's wrong with you and Christian?
There's nothing at all wrong with me and Christian. You took that the wrong way.
Why did he want to leave Schmoe so suddenly? You talking shit, bro?
I don't know, because that guy set me up for failure. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know either. I don't really know. I don't know. What else do we want to talk about with the show?
No, that's it, man. That's all I got.
You don't have anything else?
No, that's all I got.
How did you feel about the episode as a whole, in general?
I thought it was great.
Great?
Yeah, I had a good time. Dynamic.
4 out of 5 schmoes or whatever sort of rating system they have now.
I'm good with that. I'm good with 4 out of 5 schmoes. Absolutely. It's just a weird show as far as the bodies that were the presence. I thought there's so little RB3. Riley getting the boot. I mean, that was
Ace. The only thing Ace had to do was come and fix Christian's microphone.
Yeah, I mean that was sort of all over the place, but overall it was a good show, and I'm proud of him.
Do you think we'll ever get to see Kody sit at the main table? Over under 60% Kody Hall will be at the main table before the end of the year. For something, anything. Could be anything.
Here's what I want to happen.
Why are you sitting in the shadows?
I want JTE to have to run the thing. And I want Kody Hall and all the wangers on the couch.
Last week
all the wangers. Except Beardo.
Last week I started this thing, SchmoeCon. Got a lot of good feedback from that. It needs to happen. Yeah, there were like 2 people that were like, "That's great, yeah, awesome."
Okay,
was on Twitter. Anyways, I want to do a backwards day on the Schmoes Know Show. I want Christian and Mark to be over in the production section, and whoever can run cameras and all that stuff.
I don't think any of those old men know how to handle any of that
That's why
equipment.
It would be a great show, and I want Cobster and somebody else to be in Christian and Mark's shoes. I want a backwards day on the Schmoes Know live show. Let's make it happen.
I want to see them do impressions of each other. That would be interesting. Maybe not the whole show, but maybe a segment.
That's a good idea.
Where Cobster's being Christian and someone can be loud and be Ellis for a little while.
Perfect idea. So here's how it's going to go. They open the show standard. Get it off the ground, get it running very nice. Second half of the show, come back after break. The roles are reversed. Who runs the camera switching?
They just got to have JTE back there.
Yeah. I agree. That's the only way this succeeds.
I don't know how it's going to work.
What does Josh McCouga do? Does he run audio?
He does this.
Okay. Fair enough. Who does Bread to the Future instead of Bread?
Cobster. Cobster's the one that gets pissed more than anybody.
Cobster's got to be a host. Ken has to do Bread to the Future.
He doesn't have to do anything.
Ken has to do Bread to the Future because he's one of the only other people that has a steady segment, and he's also one of the only people that hasn't seen that many films. Doppelganger.
Guys, thank you so much for checking out After Schmoe this week. We greatly appreciate it. We hope that you were enjoying this video because we enjoy it. We like bringing it to you guys. As long as it's not too much work, I don't know what you're doing. But thank you so much again. Remember to that's right. Remember to subscribe to the SK Plus YouTube channel and or the Schmoes Know podcast feed. Make sure you've got both on lockdown. That way you can get all of the shows that all of us provide for you guys. We love doing this for you all.
And make sure you're rating, reviewing on iTunes. Go to the Schmoes Know iTunes feed and write a review. Leave some stars. It doesn't even have to say anything. You could just write gibberish and it would still help us out.
The other thing I'm going to do, I have no idea if I'm allowed to say this, but I said it on pre-Schmoe. I'm going to say it again. Next week, starting the 19th, all of these shows on this podcast network, they'll have a sponsor. and we're pretty excited about it. Personally, I've been waiting a year and a half.
I know
to
it's
have
cost
a
us
sponsor.
a lot of money. That sponsor is SightSoundPod.com. That's where you can get your T-shirts. Right? Is that right? Didn't we have to write a check for the sponsorship on SK Plus?
Next week, I'm not going to reveal who it is because that can be one thing that I keep secret. But
where can they find
just
you?
make sure. Hold on, I'm not there yet. Just make sure that when you guys hear this sponsorship and endorsement, that you use our coupon code. That way we get credit before everyone else. I'm taking advantage of the fact that we're coming out tomorrow, and I'm going to do this.
Oh yeah.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm trying to beef up my Instagram at WhatUpSnell, and you can find me all over the place doing Sight and Sound stuff. Again, check out these T-shirts, sightsoundpod.com for those, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That link is in the description below. Jay Williams.
You can find me at Jay Williams, J to the A to the Y to the E, on Twitter and Instagram. It is the same for both. And if you're looking for more me inside your ear holes, I can live in there. Even though I'm a big guy, I can dig myself a nice hole inside your... Okay, that's gross. You can find me doing my music show on Sight and Sound every single Friday. So what happens is you end this show, go to Sight and Sound, subscribe. You can listen to me talk about music. Ryan, you got anything else?
No.
All right, let's get the hell out of here. We will see you guys next week.
Hey, who am I? Hold on.
Peace out, Mother Fs.